If it does come into play, what could that favor even be? Yeah, I've said before, the only thing that really would make sense as would be if Heyman has some kind of sway with The Rock. It would have to be with The Rock. And it would help get him at WrestleMania or inserted into the title match. It doesn't really work though. Like, especially after what he said about The Rock last night. Why the fuck would Rock allow Punk to be added to the title match to WrestleMania? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you called him a bald fraud. You threatened him, I'm coming after you. I don't know.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here on Tuesday night. It is Tuesday Night Titans, episode number 85 for your Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. I am your host, JD from New York, as always, joined by the one and only Solid Monster himself. What is going on this very busy week, brother? I don't know, man. What happened? I mean, we have an AEW Revolution pay-per-view on Sunday night, and there's a lot of excitement going into there or lack thereof. But what happened, man? Anything big?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the one who opened up and said that we have a busy week here.
I don't
It's
know.
almost like there was some sort of industry changing event that we were told was going to be taking place this weekend.
I don't know. Is the Solid Monster getting in the ring at House of Glory in about a week? Is that what's going on?
I wouldn't spoil it here. Right? I have to keep that a secret. Why would I tell you?
I don't know. Maybe I'm the commentator?
No, you'll be in the background. You'll be in the ring with me. You'll be smoking sage.
Ah,
No,
okay.
because I know that's
Warding off the demons, like Travis Scott was saying.
evil spirits.
Well, after what happened on Saturday night, it looked like John Cena was corrupted by evil spirits. Holy shit. We're going to talk about that today, man. It's you said industry changing. I see a lot of people still talking about it after Saturday night. We'll get our initial reactions. I was telling a couple of buddies of mine, all the reaction streamers, man, I've seen a lot of people reacting to it. I wish I had recorded my reaction, man. I jumped off the fucking couch and I screamed, "This motherfucker's going heel. I don't believe they're doing it." I wish I recorded my reaction. What was your initial reaction to everything like that?
My initial reaction once I realized what they were doing was pretty much shocked, just because I never thought we would see the day. I thought we were beyond that. Right? It's his farewell to it. And he's calling it quits. This is it. Whatever. He's playing the hits. He's going to have some big matches left. He's going for number 17. The thought of him doing what I think a lot of people were hoping that he would have done 10 years ago, it just didn't seem real. It didn't seem practical. So I didn't really think that there was a chance. There's a whole chance, but I didn't really think realistically that it was going to happen. There was a point in the segment though where I realized, like, oh shit, this feels like it's heading in that direction. And I was still like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that they're actually going to right. And then they did. And so my reaction was like probably everybody else.
It was a memorable night, and to me personally, it was probably one of the top 5 moments that I think I've ever seen. And I've been watching this shit since I was 4 years old and just turned 43 this year. This is fucking crazy. Again, I didn't think they would do it either. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about all the news and notes that came out of it. We're going to talk about why John Cena went heel now, the potential for him to go back to babyface, how we maybe get there, what WrestleMania and the road to WrestleMania looks like, how we're going to map out Cena's road, Punk's road, Cody's road to Cena win the championship. You're going to get a full class of John Cena tonight right here on TNT. So we're going to have some fun with that. We'll also talk Revolution. I know Revolution's on Sunday night. Looks like a banger card as usual for Revolution. One of their biggest shows of the year is Revolution every single year. Probably the best wrestling show that they do every year as well. For the last couple of years, it's been that way. We'll talk about that, preview predictions. We got some Rey Fenix news. Rey Fenix has finally been freed from Guantanamo Bay, and he is now a free agent, and will probably land with the WWE probably, I would say, in 7 days or so. 14 days. Before the end of the month is over, he'll be with WWE. So we'll talk
sooner than he would have been.
Yes, absolutely. That's definitely the case. NDA'd out the ass, I'm sure, but regardless, he is a free man, and he's going to be joining his brother Penta in WWE. And that's basically what we got wrapped up for you today. And I thank you guys for joining us on episode 85. I know NXT is going on right now. Usually you guys are watching us both. This is going to be the place to be, and we're going to get into it.
Here in New York, I mean, it's not even on right now. It's being preempted tonight.
Oh, why?
Well, because there's a presidential address. So in New York and Chicago, it's not airing, I think, until tomorrow night.
Oh, we got the New Yorkers in there. Okay, that's good. There we go. So NXT, I know, usually is on during this time. So we are glad that you guys are here, and I'm sure you'll be with us as soon as it's over. So thank you guys for joining us in episode 85. A couple ways you could support us. Number one, super chats, they'll remain open till the end of the show. It's the best way to support what Jason and I do here on Tuesday nights. Hit that thumbs up. Try for 1,000 likes today on episode 85. Every like that you guys give us helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. Same thing with the comments. Everything as far as comments and likes helps us out in the algorithm. So if you guys are watching us after this publishes to YouTube, leave a comment down below and let us know how you felt and how you're feeling about John Cena's heel turn going into WrestleMania 41. And please make sure you follow us on social and on YouTube. Everything you need is linked down below in the description of this very video. And before I get into it, I want to apologize because I sound like shit because I got sick. So if you guys hear me cough or I mute myself, it is because I'm coughing or sniffling. I apologize in advance if I sound like shit. This guy got me sick from weekend.
It's all my fault.
It's all Jason.
You just blame me. You can just blame me. It's not even the beer. It's not even the real.
No, we can't even blame the Hulkster. No.
No. You can just blame me.
Yeah. Anyway, man, we got through all the nonsense. I'll leave it up to you as always. Where do you want to go? What do you want to talk about?
I mean, I think there's only one thing to really, kick things off with. Why don't we do this? Why don't we talk about the show kind of as a whole?
Yeah.
Starting on Saturday, because I thought this was the best, probably the best top to bottom Elimination Chamber show that they've ever done as far as like a PLE.
I agree.
I thought that both chamber matches were excellent. And think about this. It's very telling that we both feel this way. This had to be the first, certainly Elimination Chamber PLE, but 4 matches on the entire show. Like, there's never been another Elimination Chamber show, I guarantee you, that's only had 4 matches. Like, there just can't be. So you didn't have like a full card of matches, and yet we're sitting here talking about how great this show was. And I think it really illustrates that it's not just about matches, but when you have also the story and you have a major angle to support that, that's really what it's all about, right? It's not kind of all or the other. When you have a good blend of both, you can end up with the kind of show that we had on Saturday, which I thought was excellent from top to bottom.
Yeah, I agree. It was the best chamber show that I think the WWE's ever done. I think this is the best. I don't want to say the best. I mean, WrestleMania last year is going to be fucking ridiculously hard to top. Outside WrestleMania, I think is a fair assessment. This was the best show outside of a WrestleMania last year for the Paul Levesque era. And like you said, it was the perfect storm of everything coming together. 4 matches, you look at it on paper, it's fucking ridiculous. But those 2 chamber matches, they go anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes each, depending on the story that's happening in the match. So that's a big chunk of time there. And then Sammy and KO went almost 30 minutes. And then we had the closing angle, which was Cody not selling his soul to The Rock and John Cena turning heel. One of the biggest moments in WWE history. A perfect storm, Jason. We had John Cena turn heel. We had Randy Orton return. We had CM Punk and Seth Rollins play out. Cena's last Elimination Chamber. Jade Cargill showing up. And Bianca and Naomi, and that friendship now shattered. When story hits, it's usually the best thing that you could possibly ask for a wrestling show, and as far as a fan watching it is concerned. And I always say quality over quantity. I mean, they had so much missing from the show. The only person that we didn't get returning on Saturday night was Roman Reigns. And you can see that the WWE product has been lacking lately on television. Look at all the stars that they got back and what we now feel as hopeful going into WrestleMania season.
And Roman Reigns was not needed on this
No.
show. I mean, it would have been tacked on. I mean, why would you give everything away on one show? They were so loaded on that show with, star power and returns, and they had the big angle at the end. So he wasn't even needed on that show. It was a very newsworthy show. And you've probably been hearing a lot of the same feedback and criticism from a lot of people in the weeks leading up to this show. Like, oh, it doesn't really feel like WrestleMania. We talked about this here on TNT a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we both felt the same way.
Feeling very underwhelmed. It can't really compare to what was going on last year, and it just doesn't feel like WrestleMania. And, part of what we said was like the Elimination Chamber is going to be the real start of the build to WrestleMania, because look at all the people they didn't have on TV coming out of the Rumble, right? Cena wasn't around, and Randy Orton still hadn't come back, and they were dragging out the Jade Cargill story, and on. And so they didn't have a lot of their big guns, Roman as well. And that was all going to change, starting with the Chamber show, and you saw that. And now it really does, it's like a switch got flipped. And it's amazing how you can go from where we were not even 2 weeks ago to where we are now and what it feels like now coming out, and especially that Raw show last night.
Yeah, which I thought was a very good Raw. One of the hottest opens in months, probably the hottest open that they've had since they started on Netflix, which we'll definitely touch upon that as well. But starting with the Chamber, the women's Elimination Chamber, I love this match. I thought this was better than the men's match in some sense. And we got the return of Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill showed up right before the match actually started. Bell rang, and then you hear Storm is coming, and legitimately, play on words couldn't be more perfect. Storm did come to Naomi. She got her ass handed to her. She got a neck brace put on her and gurneyed out of the ringside area, out of the chamber. Jade apparently is now telling us that Naomi is the culprit for putting her out for several months here. And Bianca, I love the visual, Jason. I don't know what you said on your end, but Bianca in the chamber, not being able to do anything, a captive in that pod, scratching and clawing and screaming and cursing. She can't do a single thing to help her friend. She doesn't know what's going on. I thought from Jade showing up, the way that she did, the way that she looked, the fact that she was dressed in all black, she kind of teased hitting Liv Morgan, blasted Naomi, Bianca in the pod, not being able to do anything, helpless. I thought it was absolutely perfect as far as the next step in the storyline.
She looked unbelievable too.
Yeah.
I mean, she's marching down to the ring like you said, all black. She's got that scowl on her face, and Liv Morgan's like begging off, like like shielding herself for what's about to happen. And then as soon as she turned and she hit Naomi, everybody started losing their minds. And I said the same thing as far as Bianca. I loved it because she's banging on the glass and she's freaking out. She's having a meltdown, but she's trapped. There's nothing she can do. All she can do is just stand there and watch. And she takes the cage door and she slams it on Naomi's head. And then these fans, of course, are singing the goodbye song. And she's being like loaded on the gurney. They're all singing at Naomi like, nah, hey, goodbye. I'm like, man, 2 seconds ago you were cheering like feel the glow, and now everybody is like rooting for this woman's demise. And it almost felt too clean, right? Because I've been saying, and a lot of people have been saying and assuming that Naomi is behind this. And I still feel that way, but just the way they did it, and everybody's just assuming, well, obviously this means Naomi is the culprit, makes me think that there's got to be some other twist to this. Maybe she didn't do it, or she did, but she had help. She wasn't the only one. So I doubt that we've heard the last of this. I don't think it's going to be that cut and dry. But as far as an angle to open that match, I mean, you talk about a hot angle to get things started. I thought it was pitch perfect. It was exactly what it needed to be. And it packed a lot more punch than, let's say, Jade just showing up on TV and cutting a promo on Naomi or whoever. So I thought it was great. It set the tone for the rest of the match. I think you were very complimentary of Liv Morgan. So was I on my end, because she was the star of that match. Tiffany Stratton was the star of the Women's Chamber a year ago. Liv Morgan was the MVP this year.
Yeah, she was absolutely the MVP. That was the best Liv Morgan wrestled match that I think I've ever seen watching her on television. I think she was excellent.
And you saw the photos from after the match.
Yes,
she took a hell of a beating in that match too. Just from the braid whip alone, it sounded like a gunshot going off. But she was getting into it with everybody. She was getting into it with Alexa, which I think is going to lead to her direction for WrestleMania. But Bianca and Naomi and everybody else. So, Liv was fantastic. I thought Roxanne had a good showing. It was her first chamber match, and she was also getting into it with Bayley and everybody else. And I thought, I didn't honestly expect her to win, but I thought she had a great showing. So everybody stepped up. I was talking last week about how I really hope that it's Bianca who wins, because I've wanted to see a Rhea Bianca match for many years. I just think that's a WrestleMania match. At some point, they have to do it. Now's the time. She's been stuck in this tag team thing for so long. So then she wins, and I'm like, all right, we're going to get it. And then, of course, we saw things get blown up a little bit last night. But it went the way that I hoped it went. And I'm in agreement with you. I just thought it was an excellent way to kick off the show.
Yeah, this was easily the best women's chamber, I think, since the start of the women's chamber in 2018. I thought this was excellent. And everybody really just showed up to work, which, from a fan's perspective, I think is an unbelievable thing. As far as Bianca winning, I think you and I both picked Bianca winning. And now, I guess we could talk about this now, kind of bleed into what happened on Monday Night Raw. Bianca was sitting at ringside with the Women's Championship match last night in the main event. It was Rhea versus Io, Women's World Championship on the line. Io won the championship. She's now going into WrestleMania as the champion. We'll touch upon that in a little bit. Bianca did not do anything on the outside. She was just there clapping along. And she even said on Twitter today that she was clapping along for both women. She wasn't choosing sides, and she didn't want Io to win over Rhea because she was scared of Rhea. Rhea looked like a geek last night and turned her back on someone like Io And I don't know what it is with these companies just making champions look like, geeks. But she went out there and she confronted Bianca for thinking that she was clapping for Io and that she was afraid and didn't want to wrestle Rhea at WrestleMania. One thing led to another, and now Io is the champion. With John Cena going heel, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am. John Cena going heel. Everybody thought, nobody expected it to happen. I've been saying this about Bianca for the last 3 years. I think she could do a heel run, and I think it's time we see it. Nothing's off the table now, bro. If they can take John Cena and make him into a heel during his last year in pro wrestling, Bianca Belair could absolutely go heel. Do you think that it ends with Naomi? Now, Jade attacked Naomi. That doesn't mean Bianca isn't a part of it. That doesn't mean Naomi is 100% the culprit. There could be twists and turns to the story, which I do believe there are. Is Bianca still a part of it in your eyes? And do you see Bianca ultimately being the mastermind here behind the Jade Cargill attack?
I like the idea. If you would have floated that idea to me a few weeks ago, I would have said, do I expect that to be the case? Absolutely not. But the idea of Bianca going heel, I agree with you. I think that it would freshen her up in ways that would really benefit her character. I think she may have talked about maybe not wanting to go heel in the past, but in the end, everybody goes heel at some point, right? John Cena proved that the other night. So do I see there being a better chance of it happening now? I do. And I'll tell you what, I mentioned before, I don't think it's so cut and dry if Naomi ends up being one of the guilty parties here, that it's just her and that's it. Like, the mystery is solved. I think that there's a way where that works, but Bianca has to win the title at WrestleMania. Maybe we don't even find out until after she wins the championship. Maybe she goes to WrestleMania as a babyface, same Bianca Belair we see right now. And even if it ends up a triple threat, whatever the case may be, she wins the title. But the reveal that she was either the mastermind behind it or she was involved in it doesn't come until after the fact. And that kind of triggers the heel turn, and she gets a heel run as the champion. And she could wrestle Jade, and she could wrestle a whole bunch of different people. My whole thing with Rhea and Bianca, and we'll talk more about Rhea, because look, Rhea Ripley is going to WrestleMania. Okay, no one expects that Rhea is going to be off the WrestleMania card. It's like Seth Rollins a few years ago. Well, gee, I guess I have no WrestleMania match. What am I going to do this year? She'll end up on that card. She'll probably end up in that match. I am okay if the idea is to hold off on a proper singles match with her and Bianca and really build it up for 42. Because I think you could do that, right? Because I was a little worried. I said last week, like, is there enough time to build a really good story if it ends up being Rhea and Bianca this year? You got 6 weeks, but is that really enough time? Or should they take their time and build to a bigger match next year in New Orleans? This could all come together very nicely. If she ends up being the mastermind that triggers the heel turn, she goes on a run, you revisit her and Rhea in a year. I love that idea. I love it.
I said the same thing last night. A lot of people were freaking out. I didn't really put WrestleMania.
Freaking out about what, though?
Freaking out that Rhea lost the championship. Now, the Liv Morgan fans, they were happy that Rhea Ripley lost the championship because they thought that she should have lost the championship to Liv Morgan. They have their little voodoo. They have their little Rhea voodoo doll. They're sticking pins in them. I don't even know what it is. I didn't mention 42 last night with Bianca and Rhea, but I know the match is coming one-on-one. And I said the same thing, kind of. Why do you want to take Rhea and Bianca this year and do 6 weeks for such a major match? It's legitimately the biggest match that they could do in the women's division. That deserves a lot more than just 6 weeks. I would love to see it play out over 6 months, never mind 6 weeks. So what they did last night, I was shocked. I wish I recorded my reaction. Like, what the fuck did we just watch? I didn't really expect that to happen. I thought we were going to get some sort of fuck finish, a countdown, a DQ, God forbid. But what they did last night is now take Rhea away from the World Championship. Io, everybody wanted Io to win the World Championship. She's now walking into WrestleMania as the World Champion. She's getting a WrestleMania moment guaranteed with Bianca Belair. What this does for Rhea, Jason, is now it gives her two things that are super important on the road to WrestleMania: a reason and now an aspect to her character that wasn't there. She's shedding a new skin as far as a character. Now we see Rhea tough and she's violent. She goes in there and just beats the shit out of people. The promo, I don't know if you watched the interview last night with the Raw exclusive, with Jackie Redmond. It's almost as if she's telling everybody she has no friends and that the Judgment Day and the breakup with Dominic has left her isolated and alone. And this is another layer to the character that was not there, and something that is just very weird to see coming off someone that's just been so to herself and so strong. I loved what they did last night. Like you said, there's no possible way anybody watching the show on a week-to-week basis thinks that Rhea Ripley's not going to be included at WrestleMania in this match.
I thought it was the best promo that she's ever done. That whole backstage segment, she was like going through all these different, like the different stages of grief, right? She was upset, she was sad, she was almost like she was losing her mind a little bit there. And it was a long one too. It was like a 4.5 minute video. So I thought that was honestly the best promo that she's ever cut. Because usually a lot of what we see from her on TV or in the ring, it's very basic stuff. I mean, Rhea's not known as like, oh my God, great Rhea Ripley promo. She's fine. But like this actually, it was running through like so many different emotions. And like you said, layers, peeling back the different layers of her character. And she was showing that she was vulnerable in a way that character never has before. So I like that aspect of it. I don't think, first of all, there is still time between now and WrestleMania. Io Sky could very well lose that title back to Rhea. I don't think that's going to happen. It could, though. So let's not say, well, Io Sky is definitely going to WrestleMania. I'm like 95% sure she's going in as the defending champion. But the way things are going lately, we can't totally be sure. I think that there's nothing wrong with putting Rhea and Bianca in the ring of WrestleMania this year and having that as the first. The first chapter of a much longer story. Like you said, is 6 weeks enough? This is a match that a lot of people have wanted to see for a lot. Rhea in the promo last night, right? She said, like, this is the match I've always wanted, and now it was taken away from me, right? I was this close, and it was taken away from me. And she blamed herself. Now, to be fair, I said the same thing where she came off as completely stupid for doing what she did last night. I said she cost herself the match. She has nobody to blame but herself. Right? Well, it's not Bianca's fault.
Well, at least she recognized that she did. Yeah.
Well, that's what I said. That's what I was going to say. Like in the promo, she acknowledged that. Like, how stupid was I? Right? Because and that's part of the story they're telling, where she acknowledges that it was her foolish mistake that ultimately cost her the championship. What did Charlotte Flair say about Rhea Ripley a few weeks ago on TV when Rhea was like, "Pick me. I want you to pick me," because we've done this dance before and we're all tied up. You think but you still don't respect me, and so I want you to pick me. Yeah. And Charlotte made a comment to the effect of, "You're still a child."
Yeah.
Right? Well, she almost proved Charlotte Flair right last night with what she did. And then after the match, she's throwing a tantrum at ringside. She's screaming like, "Fuck!" And she's like screaming all this stuff as they're going off the air. I like how they're starting to evolve the character a little bit. This could be her story. It kicks off now, tied in with Bianca. And again, you could take it into next year. So I hope they go in that direction. I certainly would not rush the title back onto her, even in Mania. You feel the same way. I mean, I would keep it off her for a while. Let this thing evolve a little bit more. Let her struggle in a way that she hasn't.
Well, she's up against a lot of odds. We didn't mention.
Good.
We didn't mention that she hasn't beaten Io since 2020. Never in a one-on-one match. Never beat Io. And Bianca has an undefeated WrestleMania streak. So she's got those two things looming over her on top of everything else that she's got going into WrestleMania.
Good. She should struggle. She's someone who really didn't struggle all that much until Dom turned on her at SummerSlam. That was like the first real time. But that was one of the knocks on Rhea, is that, when she actually does wrestle, like there was nobody else in the division that was like, when you look at them, like, how can anybody be looked at as real competition for Rhea Ripley? And she's run through all these people. It's about time that she's showing weakness and vulnerability, because it's going to make her more interesting and a more compelling character in the long run. I don't know how you feel about the idea that Rhea might go heel, and maybe it's not Bianca and Rhea goes heel. Me personally, because some people were asking me about that, I think that would be foolish. She's just so over right now.
Yeah.
I think that would be insane. There's the same people that said Cody should go heel. And I maintained the entire time that would be the stupidest fucking thing they could do, because he's the guy, right? He's your top babyface right now. And they're really building everything around him. And so it would be foolish. I'm not saying later on you can't do that, but like right now, if he would have sold his soul and went heel, I think that would have been dumb. I kind of feel the same way with Rhea. I think you keep her as is. Bianca as the heel is something that intrigues me more than Rhea going heel selling her soul to get back into the title match or something like that at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be that they play into the fact that Bianca wanted this spot and she wouldn't be in this spot if she was tagging along with Jade, and she was the one to strategize a breakup and is the mastermind behind all of it, and that's why she's in the position that she's in right now. I don't know how they get there, but it could be a reason as to her being behind everything and just not Naomi, and Naomi's the fall woman here. But I was going to say I'm going Bianca walking out of WrestleMania as the champion. I think that's the right decision.
I think so too. And I was thinking about that same thing because it would be one thing if Jade gets attacked, right? And so Bianca now has no tag team partner and she's back to doing singles. Then it's very easy to explain that, like, Jade felt or Bianca felt she was being held back. So she took matters into her own hands and she was kind of taking her career back. But after Jade got hurt, she kept doing the tag team thing with Naomi. So it makes it a little harder if that ends up being the explanation. Not that you can't do it, but it's just different as opposed to if she had just immediately gone back to doing singles, but she was still doing the tag team thing. So that makes it a little tougher. But look, you could always come up with some kind of explanation, right? She gave a year of her career to this woman. Maybe she started to feel threatened by her. Yeah. For the first time, right? There was another woman who walked in, had this incredible physique, tremendous power, because that's what Bianca was always known for, right? She's a great athlete. She would gorilla press people over her head and all these feats of strength. So maybe she just was starting to feel a little, no pun intended, jaded by this other woman now coming in and maybe stealing some of her spotlight. Boom, there you go. It could be as simple as that. You could always come up with an explanation for it.
It could be a great story, especially with the fans predating all the rumors and all the innuendo and speculation. Oh, I want to see Jade versus Bianca, even when she was in AEW. How similar they were. So I love it. I think everything is great here. Finally, the women's division has a story that we actually sink our teeth into. I mean, it's something that's been missing for many, many, many months. This could be it. And I know Triple H says that they had to wait. Sometimes it felt like it wasn't progressing. The whole Jade storyline, he said they didn't know when she was coming back, if she was coming back. I think it was just him kind of embellishing a little bit. I think they knew that she was coming back. Maybe not when, but I'm glad that she is back. I think this is going to be a huge deal for all of them. Does Jade get a WrestleMania match out of this? Is it going to be Jade versus Naomi, or do you think they just keep her on the sidelines and have her be that big looming shadow over this storyline?
No, I mean, I think she gets a match. I mean, there's still quite a bit of time between now and WrestleMania, and I don't think that she comes back now if they're not preparing her for whatever her match is going to be. Is it going to be a singles match against Naomi? I mean, that's the one that would make the most sense, but we just don't know what twists and turns this story is going to go through, right? Well, apparently, we're going to hear from her, I guess, on Friday, so we'll know more then. But yeah, I think she almost certainly is going to have some kind of match on the WrestleMania card.
It'll be interesting to see, guys. WrestleMania season is certainly off and running now, especially for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn went 28 minutes on Saturday night in probably one of the early match of the year contenders. This was fucking brutal in every sense of the word. And I love both of these guys. I adore both of these guys. This was probably the best match that they had in WWE together. And it was unsanctioned. They lived up to the stipulation. And we saw the return of Randy Orton at the end, which I think everybody kind of felt was going to happen anyway. There was a small possibility with people talking, or we talked about all the possibilities that Randy Orton could come back and eventually side with Kevin Owens. And I think that what Cody Rhodes did is wrong, and just come back and just go super duper heel. Didn't happen. He came back. It's a natural progression of things. KO pile drived him. He's seeking revenge. He went for the punt kick. They teased it. They did not deliver it. We'll absolutely get it at WrestleMania. And Randy Orton's back on WWE television. Jason, what did you think of this overall match? The whole way the match was structured, the spots that they did, the crowd reaction, the shock to it, Orton's return, just popping the crowd, 38,000 at Skydome. Everything was fucking great. This was probably the match of the night for me.
I wouldn't say it was the match of the night. I think I would still probably put. I like those chamber matches, more. I think than anything else. And there were only 2 other matches in the entire show.
Yeah.
But I thought it was excellent. I appreciated the fact they had that spotlight on them as well.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't like a blue light or a red light or something. But I didn't find it too distracting. The referee, I think there was no WWE emblem on their outfit and everything. Now, of course, they still came out to their entrance music. If this was really completely unsanctioned, they wouldn't have even had a. They wouldn't have had graphics and music and stuff like that. But now we're.
Did you did you see the turnbuckles didn't have the logo, but one turnbuckle did? I don't know what that was about. Did you pick that up?
No, I didn't. I didn't notice that. No, and that never came into play, right? They never pulled off any
No.
turnbuckle tags.
No.
Yeah, that was strange.
There was one bottom turnbuckle on the WWE logo.
Yeah, no, that I didn't notice that. But I thought the action was great. I was surprised that there was no blood because it's an unsanctioned match. We saw Kevin Owens bleed quite a bit in the ladder match against Cody at the Rumble, and I thought, well, I mean, surely if he bled there, one or both of these guys were probably going to get blood in this match. By the end of the night, though, it became clear why that was, because they obviously wanted to save it, which makes sense, and I agree with that. They wanted the final closing angle to have more impact. So I get it, but it was a little weird because they introduced that barbed wire chair, and like Kevin Owens, like he took a drop toe hold face first onto the barbed wire chair, and he's taking all of this abuse. And I made the comment, I go, boy, he doesn't have a scratch on his face. This guy just took a barbed wire chair to the face, and there's not a scratch on him. So that was a little strange.
He sold the shit out of him, though. He was screaming and fucking yelling in the room.
He did, but I mean, it's barbed wire, like not a scratch on this guy. It was a little strange. It was a little strange. Of all the weapons that you could introduce into the match, that maybe you shouldn't have introduced that one. I don't know, but it was great. Obviously, these two have a lot of history together. The story was there. The only question was, does Randy Orton return during the match and cost Kevin Owens, or does he do what he did and he shows up when the match is over? I think it worked out for the better. I think Kevin Owens, he needed this win more than Sami did. He's coming off that loss to Cody in the ladder match. KO, it just felt like KO really hadn't won a big match in a while, so he probably needed that win a lot more than Sami at this point. And then Orton comes out, of course, everybody loses their minds, and now the direction for him is clear for WrestleMania. The direction for Sami Zayn, not so much. I know they've been doing the carrying cross segments on Raw. He's been kind of teasing that he and Sami may get into it at some point. I don't know if that's going to be a WrestleMania match or not. What's your sense of what you think Sami? I don't see Sami being worked into this, to make it a three-way. So, I mean, what's your sense of what they may do with it?
Just for Cross and his standing in the company, I'd like to see it because that would be a big match for him, probably the biggest match that they've done with him. Do I look at it as a WrestleMania match? No. Do they have time to tell a story for it to be a WrestleMania match? Sure, but Sami's going to be out selling this unsanctioned match. I would wait till after WrestleMania. I think you and I perfectly put it up a couple weeks ago. I don't know how many other people ran with it. If Sami misses WrestleMania this year, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. He's had two unbelievable WrestleManias the last 2 years. WrestleManias that people would die to have. I think Sami is legitimately, at this early stage of the game, you and I talked about it, the odds-on favorite in Saudi to win the Royal Rumble and then get a world championship at WrestleMania next year. So if he misses this year's WrestleMania, I think they have a reason for that to happen, and I do think that they're setting him up for something even bigger for him. The biggest thing that he could possibly ever think of next year for a world championship. That's just the sense that I get.
Yeah, and that's fine. It won't kill him. It would be a little weird because 2 years ago he was in the WrestleMania main event on night one.
Yeah.
Last year he ended Gunther's undefeated streak on the main roster and won the IC title. And then a healthy Sami Zayn being kept off WrestleMania for storyline reasons would be a little strange. But again, it wouldn't be a death knell for him. I do think there are bigger things coming in his future. And, you got 2 nights. That's true. There might be some people who do get left out of the equation of WrestleMania this year. I don't know, unless they start putting a bunch of multi-man matches together, which is certainly possible. It just may be a case where there's no obvious opponent for him. Why shoehorn him into a match that doesn't really have that much of a story? Why not just keep him off the card altogether?
Maybe he gets involved with Jimmy Uso in some way. Maybe he gets involved with the solo Jacob Fatu thing. I don't know.
Sammy's a Raw guy, right? Sammy's on the Raw roster. Jimmy, I think there's a better chance of Jimmy being involved with the U.S. title.
I can see that.
You don't think that there might be like a multi-man match for the U.S. title that has like Jimmy and LA Knight and
Yeah, if we needed a multi-man, it's certainly shaping up for that match to be the multi-man.
You could say the same thing possibly though for the IC title on the roster.
Yeah, you could. I don't know where they're going. I mean, they've been pretty heavy on Balor and the Judgment Day against Braun Breaker. I don't know where that came from. It's like 2 weeks now. But
Well, you didn't see Braun Breaker's promo.
no, I don't. I'm VP endless, so I don't know.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you didn't see. It's for the better. I talked about it last night because he was interviewed by probably Jackie, maybe Kathy. I don't know. Jackie Redmond was up with him on the concourse somewhere. And I think when the show came back on the air, it picked up with Balor in the ring, and then he was cutting a promo on Braun.
Yeah.
But during the break, like Braun Breaker was talking about the Judgment Day and what happened last week, and he mentioned Dom having a dirty Sanchez mustache, walking around like that. And then he mentioned Carlito. I wish I had it in front of me. He mentions Carlito, who of course has the apple. And it's like he starts dropping bars about how, like, the doctor says that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And then he starts going, and I'm like, it honestly felt like something Vince McMahon would have wrote. That, like, Vince would have thought was really cool, and he wanted, like, his top babyface to say it, but then when you hear it, you just start cringing. And I just said, please don't ever do this again. Like, it made him look so uncool that I'm actually glad it didn't air on the show itself. So I'm hoping that was just a one-off, and it doesn't become like a regular thing with him where they try to force it, because he just has like this natural kind of cool factor to him, which is why I think the fans have gravitated towards him, even though he was supposed to be a heel originally. But this was not good. Like, it was not good.
No, I didn't. Nobody even said anything to me yesterday about that.
Good.
I had no idea.
Good. Trust me. But actually, you know what? Hold on a second. I need to. I need you to know, because I wrote it down, and I need you to know what this meant.
You gotta get fucking nursery rhymes you with the Solomon.
That's kind of like, honestly though, like that's kind of what it was like. I mean, I don't know if I could say it the way that he did, but let me see. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, it was Jackie Redmond. This is so ridiculous. He said, "It takes courage to be Dominic Mysterio walking around with a dirty Sanchez mustache all day long, or Carlito, the Apple Man." He goes, "You know what they say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But you better stay away from that Braun Breaker and his spear, because I hear it strikes fear. But if it's a fight that you're looking for, or maybe even a grapple, I will gladly kick all your asses. How about them apples?"
That sounds fucking terrible.
It was awful.
I never want to see you or hear you read that again, ever. Never mind Braun Breaker.
It was awful. Like, it was like the antithesis of what makes him so cool. So, like, get it out of your system, but please don't do that again with him. Let him just be who he is. That's why he's over with a lot of the fans, and they bark at him when he comes out. This was like a Vince McMahon special. It was terrible.
Well, that's unfortunate there, but hopefully they got something good planned for him. Going back, just the news you know here on the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn unsanctioned match. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reported that the claim internally in WWE is that the barbed wire chair that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn did use was not gimmicked or shaved down at the request of at least one talent, says Sapp. So one of these guys requested a non-gimmicked, non-shaved down barbed wire steel chair.
Well, it was probably Randy Orton, because he wanted Kevin Owens to get punished with it, right?
I guess
maybe it was Randy Orton, maybe the question.
Maybe, I don't know, but this was excellent. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens is all but confirmed for WrestleMania, and the punt kick that we did not get, I'm assuming we will definitely get at WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Right. Nobody knows the last time Randy has delivered a punt kick successfully, but it's been probably a decade. Got to be, right?
Yeah, it's been many years.
We will see that at WrestleMania, and I'm looking forward to that. Should be a very eventful match between those two. And then, obviously, the Men's Chamber, which was great. It went 33 minutes. Punk, Drew McIntyre, Rollins, Damian Priest, Logan Paul, and John Cena. I thought everything here, Jason, the way that it played out, from order of people in the ring to the teases for WrestleMania, I thought they really hit on that. The camaraderie between Punk and Cena, that kind of devolved into them being the last two guys, and Punk and Cena hugged each other, and it was a situation where, you shouldn't really be doing that, and it kind of showed itself in that match a little bit. Then everything kind of got back on track, and then obviously the Rollins situation with him and Punk and his desire to not have Punk anywhere near the main event. He will die before he lets Punk anywhere near the main event of WrestleMania, so much so that he was on the outside of the cage while being eliminated, chanting "Die" as CM Punk was in the STF, which I thought was fucking great. But regardless, John Cena ended up winning. Punk did not tap out. He passed out. He even said so on Monday Night Raw. He's never going to tap out. You'll never see him tap out. John Cena ended up winning the Elimination Chamber with him and Punk as the final two. I thought everything here was great. And McIntyre, Priest, we got a little tease of that potentially still in the works for WrestleMania as McIntyre was eliminated by Damian Priest. What'd you think of the whole thing? How'd it play out? What are your feelings?
I think the magic is still there with Cena and Punk. I mean, when they got in the ring together and they were doing a lot of those spots they were doing, it brought me back to Money in the Bank in 2011. And obviously they're older now and a lot of time has gone by. But it was as if they didn't miss a beat. And the fans were into it, and it was great. So it made me want to see one more singles match, which I'm sure we're going to get, between them, like on a PLE at some point. That part of the match was great. The way they did the finish, I thought, was also because Rollins came from out of nowhere with that stomp. They shot it in such a way where you didn't know that he was coming in with it. And so, he stomps the shit out of him, and like you said, he's outside clutching the chains, yelling "die" over and over again. Like a madman, and then eventually passes out. So the way they did the finish, I thought was great. I did make the comment though, even before the final segment happened, where it was like, boy, that was a very, it was very opportunistic the way that Cena dove in there. He saw what happened, and he dove in there, didn't hesitate, and said, "I'm winning this shit." And he drank, which it's all legal, I guess, but that was maybe the first little hint there, like a little opportunistic on his part. But yeah, the rest of the match I thought was very good. I was very surprised to see Drew McIntyre go out first. And then I thought about it and I said, well, if you really think about it, look who was in the match, right? Cena, Punk, Rollins, right? None of those guys were going out first. And then you have McIntyre, Priest, and Logan Paul. And Logan probably wasn't going out first either. So really, who was it going to be? It was going to be either Priest, who they're really trying to push right now on SmackDown as one of their top babyfaces, or McIntyre. So McIntyre probably is the name that made the most sense. I wish he was in there a little bit longer. He was only in there maybe, 12, 13 minutes, something like that. Clearly now, I don't think there could be any debate about what his WrestleMania directive is going to be. I know there was some chatter, maybe they were going to change plans and do him in LA Knight. I don't think that's even, maybe it was never under consideration. I certainly don't think it's under any consideration now. And so it's going to be Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. As far as the rest of the match, Logan Paul, the guy knows how to get heat. Dude, when the match started, who did it start with? McIntyre and Rollins, I think, right? Yeah. Who's the one getting chants? They were chanting "Fuck you, Logan," as those two guys were wrestling.
Yeah, which were bleeped out on Peacock and PLE. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a little strange, but especially strange considering what we got at the end of the show.
I know.
So the guy knows how to get heat. And the guy, he's a great athlete. We talked about that before. Everybody played their part very well. But those final sequences involving Cena and Punk and Rollins, I just thought that was very well done. And then, of course, that led into, well, there was one more match we didn't mention here, which was the weakest thing on the entire show.
I left it out intentionally.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we should probably just mention it. Not just pretending it never happened, but yes, easily the weakest thing.
Oh my God, man!
I
upset the Candice LeRae fan out there. Oh my God, man!
Trish Stratus. Hey! You got to say thank you, Trish. You better show your appreciation. 25 years of Trish Stratus.
We love Trish. Trish and Tiffany against Nia and Candice. Yes, Trish and Tiffany won in about 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember it? No.
Trish and Tiffany were not losing in Toronto.
No.
I'll tell you what surprised me about that. I picked them to win, but I specifically said Nia Jax is not taking the losing fall in that match. Because it just doesn't make sense. If she's got one more title match that they might do with her on TV, why would you beat Nia when you have a perfectly good Candice LeRae right there?
Yeah.
And they pinned Nia. They had Tiffany, and it was Tiffany. Tiffany pinned Nia Jax. So, I mean, are they not? How could they run that match back on TV as a title match, right? I mean, what? That would be pretty stupid to me. if they were going to do that, because why wouldn't you just have Candice take the loss and save the pinfall on Nia for the title match if they're going to do one on TV?
I don't know. It's a good question. I didn't really think much of it, to be quite honest with you.
Well, I mean, they did the title match a few weeks ago. It ended on a disqualification, where we got no clear winner. And Nia's still been talking like, no, I'm still going to take that title from you. So that's why I'm just thinking they might run that match back again. That's the only thing about it that surprised me. Otherwise, it was a pretty ho-hum match. I mean, it was fine. It was decent. It wasn't, anything great. But compared to everything else on the show, clearly the weakest thing on the entire card.
No, absolutely. I was going to ask you, because we're going to get into it now because it was the final thing on the show. Looking back at it now, with the way Rollins eliminated, or I guess aided in helping Cena eliminate Punk, and what we got at the end of the show with Cena going heel, did you, over the last 72 hours, think that there's any collusion between Rollins and Punk, and Rollins maybe being involved with what happened at the end of the show? Did you think that at all? Because I know a lot of people were making mention of Rock's hand gestures. He did the 3 at Bad Blood. Everybody's correlating the 3 to the 3-second 10 of John Cena. It was basically the same kind of hand gesture, but backwards at Bad Blood. I don't know. People making correlations to that. Whether or not it's intentional, I don't know. It's
Everybody is making correlations to every little thing. Do you see the latest thing now? People are showing those photos again from last year's build-up when Rock was beating up Cody in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Truck behind them.
That's the new one. Yep.
Yeah, that's the new one. So like everyone is coming up with their own little conspiracy theory. No, I don't think that's the case. The thought never crossed my mind. I think Rollins has pretty well established that he doesn't like The Rock. He doesn't like any of those guys. And I don't look at it as a situation where Rollins is in collusion. He's also sold his soul. I think it would just be a rehash. He's already sold his soul once before. That's why I thought he would be a bad choice if it ended up being him. So no, I don't think that. I think that's just people reading a little too much into it.
You don't think his hatred for CM Punk goes that deep where he would align himself with the guy
why would
he vehemently hates?
Why would he have to align himself with anybody? He got eliminated. He was embarrassed. It was CM Punk who pinned him in the chamber. He was still in the chamber. He saw an opportunity to stomp the shit out of this guy, and he took it because he fucking hates his guts. It has nothing to do with The Rock. He doesn't need to buddy up to The Rock to get revenge on CM Punk. He got his revenge on CM Punk. He stomped him, and he cost him a win in the Elimination Chamber.
People are making a big deal about a lot of correlations to throwbacks and like the NWO. Who's the third man? Who's the third man? They're like, there is no third man. There is a third man. There may be some planning on it being a third man, but right now I'm not thinking of a third man here. It's Cena and The Rock. That's it. I don't know who the third man is.
They could always add more people to this if they want. They could choose a younger member of the roster and try to give them the rub. I mean, they can do anything they want. Do I think that this has been hatched as a plan to have a third man? No, I don't. Doesn't mean they can't eventually be added, but I think, again, people are making a lot of comparisons to the NWO and to other things, and it's fun. It's fun to kind of fantasy book and all that, but I don't think so.
Yeah, a lot of things have been thrown out there on social media. I'm glad people are talking about it because it was legitimately one of the biggest moments in WWE history. I know we'll get into it. I got the big story here from Fightful. I got all the notes here from what I took on the show on Saturday night. I want to start here, Jason. I know a lot of people are thinking about the Cena heel turn and what it means for the business right now. And the first thing that was on people's minds was Cena turning heel and immediately comparing it to Hulk Hogan and the NWO, Bash the Beach 96, where he aligned himself with Hall and Nash. I know there's a lot of comparisons just because of the status of both Hogan and John Cena and both them being company guys. But as far as the comparisons, I personally said, and this is just coming from me, I think I know where Jason's going to come from as well, but me personally, it is not the same as Hulk Hogan's heel turn, and I would not compare it to the Hulk Hogan heel turn. And lastly, I would not even say it's above the Hulk Hogan heel turn. One was basically changing the business. Hogan was at the height of one era, did what he needed to do to be at the height of the modern era there in 1996. And he was the man behind two of the biggest booms in the history of pro wrestling. and will go down as the greatest heel in the history of the business. That's my honest opinion. No matter what you think of him or how you feel about Hulk Hogan, he is the greatest heel in the history of the business, and that is the greatest heel turn that we'll ever see. There's not going to be, we'll be in the grave, and there'll be no other heel turn ever again that's going to be on that level of Hulk Hogan. What was your initial reaction to people comparing the two, and why is it silly for people to compare the two?
I can understand why people would do it. It's just natural. I mean, wrestling fans compare everything to the past. You know, I'll get questions. I could be live on YouTube doing a stream right after something just happened, like somebody won a title, let's say, and I'll be getting questions. How does this compare to this? Where would you rank this? I go, dude, I just watched it. Like, I don't know where it ranks. You gotta give it some time to breathe, okay? You got the recency bias, like, so it's a natural thing. My what I said was this, and this is my attitude on the whole thing. The Hogan heel turn is sort of in a league of its own. I look at that in many ways the way I look at the 92 Royal Rumble, where we have had some great Royal Rumbles since then. But like in my mind, that's still the greatest of them all. And there were a lot of reasons for it. Hogan's heel turn was transformative. It wasn't just, oh, the good guy went bad. Right? He's Breaking Bad now. Like, it was transformative. A lot of what we got during that Monday Night War period in the Attitude Era very likely doesn't happen if Hogan doesn't go heel and the NWO doesn't become a thing. That's how big that was. So Triple H made the comment like industry changing, and he was teasing something big was going to go down this weekend. And it was a very big deal. It's on Sports Center. Everybody's talking about it. But it's not going to have the same impact that the Hogan heel turn did, right? Business now is so much, it's just so much bigger than it was back then. But whether John Cena turns heel or not, in the grand scheme, it's not really going to make that big of a difference. That's the biggest difference between what we saw at the Chamber and what we saw at Bash at the Beach. What I think is fair is to say that that moment that we saw on Saturday was this generation's Bash at the Beach. So you're going to have a lot of people who, they didn't grow up watching wrestling back when Hogan turned heel in '96, or they weren't a fan back then, or they're very young, and so they weren't around for it. So to them, John Cena, he's like their Hogan. So to see him go heel, that's like their Bash at the Beach moment. I think that's a better way to describe it. I don't look at it as bigger than that. I would say of the most jaw-dropping moments that I can remember, like in my wrestling fandom, if I had to rank them, right, the three moments that I think of now, Undertaker's streak being broken at WrestleMania 30, I think, is number one.
I remember where I was in my initial reaction to that. It was I could not believe. I thought I was in another fucking on another planet when that happened.
I was there. I was in the stadium, and I'm looking around, dude. Like I'm in it, and I'm looking at people, and I feel like I was the only one laughing. But that was I mean, you can see me, like they put me on TV very briefly. I'm like at the corner of the screen. I'm the only person laughing because I didn't know how else to react. It was like everybody was stunned. Jaws literally were dropping. Okay, to me that's number one. Number two would be the Hogan moment at Bash at the Beach, and number three would be what we saw on Saturday, because I legitimately was shocked. I never thought I would see the day, and I've said before, Cena's not going to heel, right? Well, I was wrong. And I'm happy to do that. I think it's great. But I think that comparing it and saying, oh, this is bigger than the Hogan moment. This was on Sports Center. Like, it's two totally different eras. It's two totally different sets of circumstances. So I think it's unfair to compare them directly. But this was, for this generation, that's what this was. This was Bash at the Beach 96.
Do you think it's fair to say that Hogan needed to go heel, John Cena did not need to go heel? Because that's the way I feel. Cena didn't need to go heel. Hogan absolutely needed to go heel. And I don't know. I think you're the guy that everybody would probably come to for an answer like this. Did Hogan ever want to go heel before he left WWF? Did Vince not allow him to? And then he went to WCW, and then he was given the option to do it? Maybe that's the story there.
This is what Hogan claims.
Oh God.
Okay, now we're getting into the Hoganisms now. So what he claims is that he went to Vince before WrestleMania 6. And he said, I got a great idea. You got to turn me heel. So he was going to lose to the Warrior, and then he would go heel, and he would become Triple H. He would become Hollywood Hulk Hogan. This is what he claims. Okay,
this is what he said legitimately?
Legitimately.
I
I
don't
pitched
believe.
the idea for Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
I don't believe that. For
Of course you
a
don't believe it because he's full of shit. That's why you don't believe him, right? But that's the story that he tells. Now, did Hogan want to go heel during that time period at some point between the beginning and the end of his run when he first became that mega babyface? Maybe at some point he felt like he wanted to go heel, but I have my doubts. I have serious doubts about that because Hogan, you could say his popularity was starting to wane, right, as the '90s went on. But he was still the ultimate babyface. He was still selling tons of merch. I don't think Hogan was in any great rush to turn heel. Okay, it makes for a great story, but I'm sorry, I don't believe it. Hogan, though, as far as '96, there were a lot of crowds that were kind of turning against him or just getting sick of him. Like the signs were there. Didn't really make it any less shocking though to see him do it. But there were signs like, okay, you know what? People are getting burned out on this red and yellow Hulkamania stuff. And it was almost like to prolong his career, he had to. Like turning heel was the best thing he ever did. It added at least 5 years onto his career. With Cena didn't have to go heel. Cena, this was his retirement year. The story was number 17, right? He would have been the sentimental favorite for the rest of the year if they didn't do what they did on Saturday. It would have been fine. So he didn't have to do it. I'm glad he did though, because to be honest now, if he wins the Elimination Chamber and doesn't go heel, are you looking forward to a babyface John Cena versus babyface Cody Rhodes main event at WrestleMania?
No, I've been saying it the last 2 weeks on my platform. I feel like that is the most Vince McMahon main event that we could ever book as far as Triple H being the head of creative. It's like Walmart store bought vanilla. Like who wants to see that? It's like a mirror image of yourself wrestling each other.
Right. Yeah, that's basically what it is. I mean, it's like the pointing Spider-Man meme. That's basically what it would have been, right? It would have been boring. Here, this makes things a lot more interesting because, first of all, you never saw it coming, and it just opens up so many possibilities now of how this could go. All of a sudden, like, if you ask me who do I want to go over in that match, I want Cena to win the title.
Me too.
I didn't think he had to win the title of WrestleMania. As a babyface, I would have had him lose and then have to struggle to kind of get back in it and to win it like at SummerSlam. But now this changes everything, where it's like, okay, I don't want to see Cena. If Cena's going to be a heel, I don't want to see John Cena get a Shawn Michaels 2005 run where he's a heel for 4 weeks. To me, that's a waste. So we had 6 weeks until WrestleMania. You don't know how long he's going to be a heel for. Maybe he's only going to be a heel until Vegas, and that's it. I think that would be a waste. People have been clamoring for this for so long. Now we're actually getting it. Like, give it to us. Like, give me 4, 5, 6 months solid of heel Cena. And when I say heel Cena, I mean like let him go all in on this. His appearance has to change. The music has to change. Everything about him. I said the other night, he's got to murder R-Truth for jacking all of his moves.
Yep.
Right? I mean, R-Truth is this beloved figure. That's one of the first things he should do, is beat the shit out of him. He should beat up Stu, the cameraman, push him down a flight of stairs or something. Like, he's really got to go all in on this. And you can play this out until like the end of the summer. That's what I'm hoping they do, right? But I feel like he almost has to win the title then at WrestleMania, because if he fails, then you would think there would be issues between him and The Rock.
Yes.
And the heel turn is effectively over. So I'm actually pulling for him to walk out of WrestleMania as the champion.
There's got to be a payoff to what we got at the Chamber. I mean, otherwise, I don't really see what the point was. But as far as the segment, Chamber ends. Cena wins. He remains in the ring. Cody's music hits. I was texting my best friend during that segment. What was your reaction when you saw Cena still in the ring and Cody was making his way out? Did it kind of register then that, like, you kind of knew something was going to go down big because it was the last segment of the show? They're not going to end the show with Cody giving The Rock his soul or just a random beatdown, and that was it from Rock to Cody, because we saw that last year. But when Cena was in the ring and Cody made his way out, I was texting my best friend. I'm like, John Cena's still in the ring. They may fucking do it. Did it register to you when you saw all of this play out on television?
Yes. And not only was he still in the ring, he was kind of standing behind Cody.
Yeah.
He was like up against the ropes, and Cody was kind of in front of him. So yeah, that's where it first hit me. Like, wait a minute, this is going one of two ways. Either Cody's going heel or Cena's going heel, and I don't think Cody's going heel. So that's where it started to really register. Like, holy shit, something big. The fact that they're closing the show with it, dude. Like, I was surprised just to find out they weren't doing this in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
So when I saw that they weren't closing with the chamber match, I knew right away. Like, okay, we're gonna get our answer tonight. Someone is selling their soul and going heel. We just don't know who.
Well, it was actually listed third internally, according to Fightful Select, and this was reported by numerous outlets. It was running at the end of the show, and it wasn't a last-minute change. It was simply placed third internally to protect the Cena heel turn. So everybody got on Sean for misreporting this. I could absolutely see WWE just fucking throwing a curveball to everybody. So
well, it wasn't even Sean. I mean, it was Mike Johnson, a PW insider, who put the spoiler lineup up first, as far as I could tell, and it had the Rock and Cody segment right in the middle of the show.
Yeah. So they wanted to preserve the surprise. That reportedly there was only like 4 or 5 people that knew, and it was everybody in this segment here plus Triple H. WWE went to great lengths to keep it secret. Triple H noting that he had the truck lay out so we could handle everything with the turn, as only a few needed to know what was coming. The company ended up protecting it well, as it came as a shock to many in the company. Cena and Cody have known what the plan was for WrestleMania for quite a while now. Thus far, we have not heard that there are plans for The Rock to wrestle at the show. We'll get to that in a little bit. In the fall, WWE Creative were told to create plans as if The Rock wouldn't be wrestling at the show. Much of The Rock's creative and the planning behind it is provided to WWE staff and creative on a need-to-know basis. As he pointed out, he typically collaborates with Brian Gewirtz and Triple H directly. Those that we asked said the roster, or the poster rather, that dropped on Friday was 100% intentional foreshadowing, and that Travis Scott was planned to be part of the angle at the time. People complained about this, Jason, in the lead up to the show. I don't know who was on the previous poster, but they did change it to The Rock only, and then it was Rock, Cena, and Travis Scott. People were flipping out over fucking nothing on social media. How could you change it? Where's Spunk? Where's everybody? Where are the women? I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys. I mean, is there anything else in this life to complain about? You complain about a fucking piece of paper, a digital image. Give me a break. So they changed it specifically, and nobody really picked up on it. It was just like, here's the 3 biggest guys on the fucking show. That's the poster.
You talk about nobody picking up. I want to read you a quote, okay? You talk about people not picking up on something. This is a quote from Cody Rhodes at the end of October. Okay, he was talking to some publication out of Las Vegas. This is what he said. What I can say for those who keep an eye on the rumor, or the rumor mill, I bet you what they get at WrestleMania 41 is unexpected even to them yet. Even the people who follow this, the diehards who feel like they have their finger on the pulse, this one is going to be tough. This one is going to be unexpected. That's the best way I could put it, but in the best of ways. So he said that on October 25th. Because there are people wondering, like, how recent was this decision made? How far back does it go? It goes back at least that far.
Bro, I said this on Saturday when we did the review. You know, we gave Rock, you and me and everybody else gave the Rock shit for blowing up the plans, and they were fucking blowing up, purposely blowing up. You saw things were not right, and they course corrected, and luckily we got one of the greatest WrestleMania moments ever. This year, I said, not only am I surprised to see the heel turn, but that quote, I remember him saying that, now that you brought that to be fresh in everybody's minds now here live. They had this fucking thing every fucking step of the way. Everything that The Rock has done, everything that we've seen has been the plan. I don't want to sit here and say that, you know, Rock is like fucking long-term planning and, you know, he still very much comes in and does what he wants. Things change. I do think that the crux of all this has been planned since Bad Blood. I do think that all the bullshit about the 3 going up at the end of Bad Blood, it was all fucking planned. I may be on an island to myself with that. I do think that everything from there to the Netflix fucking just bizarre way he came off as Dwayne drinking tequila with Cody, the promo on NXT, everything has been fucking planned by this guy. And I love it. I have 0 complaints so far this season.
Yeah, and I bring that up because, I don't know if you saw it, there was a tweet that Meltzer put up earlier today. He was responding to somebody, I don't remember what the question or the comment was, but he posted this long tweet in response. Basically, what he was saying in so many words is that there were a lot of political games that have been going on, and Rock wanted Cody. The implication being that he wanted Cody to be the one to go heel. And Triple H thought, Paul Levesque thought it was a terrible idea. But Rock is Rock, and so Rock is typically going to get what he wants. And there were people behind the scenes who told Cody, like, you need to say no to this. And Cody was, I guess Cody said no, I don't want to do this. And so in the end, they went to Cena. Cena was the number 2 choice, and Cena said sure. And so they went with Cena instead as the heel. Then he deleted the tweet, so it's not up anymore. So it's like, he puts this out there.
God.
He puts this out there, and then of course everyone screenshotted it, so it's still there. But he deletes the tweet, and I'm like, I don't buy that for a second.
I don't believe a fucking word you said. I don't believe anything of what you just read.
I don't believe. That's why I specifically remembered this quote from Cody in October. I said I gotta read this and remind people of what Cody said, because there's no way Cody made that quote and didn't know what the idea was back then.
Dave is just better off deleting X, honestly. I don't believe. Why would you put that out there after watching everything transpire the way that it has? I don't believe it.
I don't know.
So yes, everything. If you want to believe it or not, up to you. You can believe what you want. I believe everything has been planned. Cody mentioned that. I remember that vividly. That he did mention that back in October. Most Fightful say that we spoke to the night of the Elimination Chamber in WWE. Believe The Rock will be at WrestleMania in Vegas, but that was far from confirmed. We heard nothing to lend to what he do there. Of note, there were 2 writers listed internally for this segment: Ed Koskey and Brian Parise. There was no producer listed. However, considering the nature of the Elimination Chamber rundown being intentionally out of order, it's best not to take that as gospel. Cena is not advertised for the next 2 episodes of Raw. He wasn't on last night. Rock wasn't advertised for last night either. Rock did say at the post-show Elimination Chamber scrum that Cena will be flying to Africa after the show was over. I think he's got more filming. McIntyre was never planned to win this match either, because I know Chris Featherstone of Sportskeeda put that out there, and he just ruined all credibility for himself. McIntyre, I don't know why anybody would go with McIntyre. He was always a small possibility, but I don't think in this sense that was going to be the case. As far as the segment, Jason, the way everything played out, Rock asking for Cody's soul, Cena's in the background being cheesy John Cena, jumping around and smiling and waving his fist, in the air, like, yes, Cody.
That's what he always does.
Yeah,
he's always hamming it up. He's always over the top of his reaction.
Hamming it up big time. Travis Scott leaning against the ropes, and Cody comes out and says, I sold my soul a long time ago to give to these people, to give to this sport, this ring. And then he says, and it comes out of nowhere, Rock, go fuck yourself. And I know you got the sound clip queued up, but it was. It's. I listened back to it about close to a dozen times between now and Saturday. It was awesome. Travis Scott, he's got some sage or some fucking incense. He's like fucking warding off the demons after what we just heard. Everything was great. And then Rock, he's standing there, no emotion. Cena goes over and hugs him. And it's going to be the WrestleMania main event, Michael Cole says. Great. And we see that fucking cheesy, hamming it up John Cena reaction just turn to pure evil, bro. And then Rock does the throat section. We get the fingers. Nobody knows what the 2 means. It was a 3. Now it's a 2, a 1. Everybody's making something out of nothing here, but a kick to the nuts. And that the beatdown was on, bro. I mean, the beatdown was so savage that I would not be surprised that Cody asked for it. I know you mentioned it because I listened to your clip that you posted on the YouTube channel. The belt shots. Bro, if Cody ends up black and blue, it's because of those belt shots. I know Meltzer put out something today in regards to the belt shots. Everybody's talking about Travis Scott punching Cody a couple times, kind of hard way. But, man, those belt shots, if anything, man, they still are ringing in my mind how fucking brutal they were. What did you think of that shit?
Oh, I mean, especially the first one. Like, it made such a thud. And it wasn't like he gets his hands up and blocks it. It doesn't make that sound.
No.
He took that whole thing, and it was like, I mean, it was very noticeable. I was waiting to see if like there would be a lump that would swell up on his head. Maybe there was later that night. I haven't seen a picture of him since. I know he ended up with a black eye later. Yeah, the belt shot. I mean that and there were 2 of them, I think, right? So
yeah.
2 belt shots to the head, and those are heavy. I mean, you can fucking kill somebody with those.
And then the Rolex shots, which Michael Cole thought was brass knucks, and Pat McAfee of all people says the Rolex calls, the Rolex.
Yeah. So I mean, It was like you said. It was brutal. He got color. So there's Cody bleeding, and that's probably why we didn't get blood in the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match. And then Rock had the weight belt, which he showed off on SmackDown on Friday night. That had said Cody's Soul, right? It said Cody's Soul on it, and it had the date that Dusty died. And he takes the weight belt off, and he whips the shit out of him. Yeah, somebody made a comment to me, and it's kind of true. Like they're like, Cody must have some kind of fetish or whatever for being whipped with a belt. And it goes back to AEW, and he took those 10 lashes, right? It's like last year Rock was whipping him with the belt. This year Rock is whipping him with the belt. So he took some solid shots there. The Travis Scott thing, I didn't notice it live. It wasn't until after the show that I saw the clip a little bit closer in. I don't know if it was a punch or an open hand slap, but I mean, he smacked the shit out of him, like as hard as he could.
It looked like a close fist from what I saw.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cody went to him beforehand. He said, "Look, give me a shot, lay it in." I don't know that he did. I mean, maybe Travis Scott got caught up in the moment because Cena was trying to hold Cody down. And then it looks like Travis was supposed to hold him down from the front end. Cena had him from the back end. And then out of nowhere, he just kind of gives him that shot. And I mean, he connected hard, and Cody's being held down, so he can't even really, protect himself. And everybody's making a big deal about it because I think it was Dave who said that, Cody may have a busted eardrum. And look, it could have been a lot worse. He could have ended up with an orbital injury, which would have been a lot more serious. So it was a stupid thing to do, especially with somebody like him. Like, if anybody needs to be protected right now, like the two people that need to be wrapped in bubble wrap are Cody Rhodes and John Cena heading into WrestleMania. So it's stupid to even take the chance of doing that, but I just look at it as, he got over exuberant. Did you see the video of him when he got to the back talking to Triple H? Travis Scott?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like a kid. Like, he was so excited and all amped up and everything. Supposedly, he's training. I don't know at whose school, some legend's school that he's been training at.
Fightful put something on. Fightful Select has since learned that Scott has been doing wrestling training, with one source saying that it was at a WWE Legends wrestling school. There have been discussions of Scott work matches in the future, and we don't have a timetable on when that could occur. I'm not interested in seeing him wrestle, but I would say he gets physical at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's safe to say. Yeah. Everybody's saying, oh, he'll have a receipt coming. No, he won't. He's a big enough celebrity that I don't think he's going to be getting a receipt for that. It was a mistake, obviously. They should just be very lucky that it wasn't anything more serious if it is a busted eardrum, which is bad enough. So that was a little scary. But then, they leave Cody bloodied and battered, and you get that final shot of Rock, Travis Scott in the middle, and John Cena. And a lot of people bitched and moaned even that night. What was Travis Scott doing there? Why was he there? He ruined the segment, or he almost ruined the segment.
Give me a break.
It was clear why he was. I could see why WWE and Nick Khan and Triple H would want him there. He's a big celebrity. And so it was going to help them get that much more attention on the segment, which got plenty of attention. I think it was going to get plenty of attention no matter what. But he's a huge star, huge social media following. Him being in the ring also kind of played into the whole final boss character, where Rock he's that Hollywood guy, and he's got a lot of Hollywood friends. And what was he trying to do? He was trying to convince Cody, I can make your dreams come true. You can be a big star just like me. And so I think it worked, having his celebrity friend, there with him in the ring, or as I described it, it looked like father and son coming down to the ring together. It didn't ruin the segment.
No.
It didn't really bother me. I was watching him at one point, and he's in the corner just lighting up and smoking, and I just thought, what are we watching here? Think about what we're watching, right? We are watching a segment where we have Cody Rhodes, their top babyface, standing in the ring telling The Rock to go fuck himself, right? Uncensored. We have Travis Scott in the corner doing whatever he's doing, and then John Cena goes heel. If I would have described this scene to you a few weeks ago, it would have sounded like a fever dream.
Bro, Vince aged 15 years watching this segment.
You think you watch it?
Listen, man. I would love to see. I would love to watch a watch along with Vince watching this one fucking 10-minute segment.
Oh my God! Please, you would have an aneurysm.
That would be great.
It goes against everything. Yeah, it goes against everything that he ever would have allowed. The TNA stuff and the partnership with TNA goes against everything they ever would have allowed. That's what I love about the fact that he's no longer around. That we're able to get this stuff now that we never would have gotten. And yet there were still some people who, you gotta bring Vince back. You gotta bring Vince back. Like, please.
Travis Scott did not ruin the segment.
No, he didn't.
In fact, you know, if Cody didn't tell Scott to go in on him with the punch, and he did it as an accident because maybe he was under the influence of whatever he was smoking, or maybe he had a drink before and out there should be some repercussions for that. Sure, whatever. They're not going to do nothing to him because of who he is and standing in Hollywood, and he's a big-time musician. Accidents happen. I didn't think he ruined the segment. In fact, you know, I see a lot of people making the correlation again. I use that word again, correlation, because a lot of people compare it to the NWO, Hogan, Hall, Nash. It reminded me of like Dennis Rodman being out there with the NWO. He was an innocent fucking cameo. He was leaning against the ropes. He was acting all cool. He was like just watching a fucking savage beatdown of the world champion, unbothered by it. I thought it came off like, yeah, man, we own this shit. Type of cool. I didn't mind it at all.
Well, yeah, these same people would have been complaining about Rodman if social media was around back in '96. Like, oh, what's he doing there? You know, like, why is he there? He's ruining the segment. He has no business being there. It's the same thing. Why was he there? He was there because he put eyeballs on the product. That's why he was there. I still remember the NBA Finals where it was him and Karl Malone. And they got tangled up at one point on the court. This is during an NBA Finals game. And they tripped over each other or whatever, and it was Bob Costas, that prick, on commentary, who was making some snide comments about wrestling, and, you know, keep that wrestling stuff out of, you know. But like, it got them attention. It got them a huge like media like blitz out of it. That's why they did it. And WWE, especially under TKO, they're all about the celebrity. Look at the Raw and Netflix premiere. All the celebrities we have in attendance tonight. They talk about celebrities all the time now because it's the cool thing. And they want people to think wrestling is cool again. And look at all these celebrities and all these famous people who are in the crowd and who want to be a part of this. The iShowSpeed thing. Mm-hmm. How many social media views did that get? 300 million?
Something like that, yeah.
I think the Cena thing topped it. They said it was like 500 million. This is why they do what they do. I'm not saying that it's always great, but like, you can't pretend like, why is he out there? Like, use your brain. It's pretty clear why he's out there. And it's smart because it puts more eyeballs on the product.
This was one of the best segments that I think I've ever seen, or best moments, I should say. This was a moment that's going to be talked about for decades to come, just like Hogan turning heel against the baby faces and the NWO being forming. It's going to be talked about for years to come. I didn't think they were going to do it. Jason didn't think they were going to do it. I said that they didn't have the balls to do it. I was the one pitching for Punk to go corporate. How ridiculous that sounded. And a lot of people were like, I want to see heel Punk. A lot of people wanted to see heel Punk. I don't think anybody after watching this is complaining about seeing CM Punk continue on the road that he's on and John Cena now the heel in this story. I don't think anybody's complaining about this, and I think a lot of people are very excited about this. And I know a lot of people have wanted this to happen, Jason, for 21 years. We've gotten John Cena being the face of the company, the baby face, the guy who's basically at the top of WWE. Cena, on the Pat McAfee show on January 13th, 2022, revealed that Vince McMahon had considered turning him heel during his high-profile feud with The Rock leading into WrestleMania 28. That was in 2012. Cena recounted McMahon toying with the idea, saying, I remember Vince toyed with the idea of turning me heel versus The Rock in Miami. He said he was open to it and said, no problem, I understand, I'll do it. Just remember that we are so deep in at this point, meaning that he's been a babyface for so long, that we can't do it and then jump back. So I found that to be interesting when I read that. He emphasized that if he were to turn heel, it would need to be a committed shift, not a half-hearted or reversible one due to how entrenched his babyface character had become. Vince ultimately denied against it, believing that Cena's established role as the company's top guy was too valuable to risk altering. You mentioned Shawn Michaels before, and the fact that you don't want to see Cena turn heel for 4 weeks, only to turn back into being babyface. And he here said on the Pat McAfee show that if you're going to go all in, you got to go all in. Now people are talking about Cena, Cody, WrestleMania. You said you want to see him win the championship. I want to see him win the championship because a payoff is needed. Do you have the company ride this 6 months into the year, and do you have his final year be mostly competed as a heel in WWE?
Well, that's the question, right? So even the idea of him winning number 17 it's an inherently it's a babyface thing, right? It's a babyface angle. If he wins number 17, he sets the record, and that should be celebrated. The fact that he's a heel, though, that changes things a little bit. So, do you have him win number 17 and break the record as a heel? You certainly can, and I would lean towards doing it. But you're also taking away what should be like a real celebratory moment. And the other aspect of it also is, do you ride this out? You said for 6 months and give him a run. You have to leave time for there to be the redemption arc. Cena is not retiring as a heel. So if he's true when he says that this is it for me, 2025 is it. I mean, it would be kind of funny if he comes out on TV the next time we see him and he says, now that he's a heel, he goes, yeah, that was all bullshit. I'm not going anywhere. You know, the whole thing was a ruse all. I don't think that's the case.
Well, I did mention that on Saturday. I'm like, imagine he has such a good time playing a heel that he goes back on his retirement announcement and does one more year.
Yeah, I don't see him. If he was serious about this being his final year, I don't see him going back on that. I really don't. I don't, because I mean they've already promoted events as like the last time you'll see John Cena here, the last time you'll see him there, and I think he's serious about it. So I think this is his last year. You need to leave time for there to be a redemption arc, because he's got to retire as a babyface. He's got to win the fans back. He's got to see the error of his ways. So there has to be an end to it early enough that leaves time for there at least a couple of months for him to kind of restore his soul, and we get the old John Cena back before he goes out.
What type of heel does he need to be coming back to television when he makes that first promo, that first appearance? Because I know the whole the lore of Cena going heel. Back when we talked about this, he was interviewed by GQ and Pat McAfee, Cheap Pete by what's his name, Rosenberg. They all interviewed John Cena about the possible heel turn back in the day. He had music made. I believe there was some merchandise already kind of being thought about as far as his heel run. What type of heel does he need to be? Does he need to come out and basically say, fuck the kids? Vince didn't want to turn him heel because of the Make-A-Wish, the merchandise that he was selling. Vince got cold feet. Does he just need to go dark, full bore, fucking go all in on this thing, not give a shit about anybody? Heel music, do we need to see that? Do you think we need to hear that theme music that was fucking hidden away at Titan Tower all these years? Do you think we get that coming back now when he makes his way back to television?
Instead of hustle, loyalty, and respect, it's laziness, disrespect, disloyalty, and he tells all the kids to give up.
Yeah.
Basically just the antithesis of what John Cena was before.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he has to come out and say, fuck them kids. I don't think.
Yeah, that might be a little too harsh.
That might be a little too extreme. I think we need a vicious Cena. I think we need a Cena. Some people think he's just going to go back and battle rap like he did in the early days. Like, I don't think we need to go back to the Doctor of Thugonomics. Like, that's not what I want to see. This is the new evolution of John Cena. This has to be, again, I looked at them on Saturday and I said, hey, we have the Hollywood heels. So do we get more of a Hollywood type John Cena? That's another possibility. The only thing missing now is Hollywood Dave Bautista. You can get them together as a trio.
And we didn't get enough of Hollywood Dave Bautista.
No, we only got him for like 3 months. Mm-hmm. Just like Hollywood Rock back in 2003. We only had him for a few months too. So I think we need a vicious John Cena. That's why I mentioned the R-Truth thing. We kind of laugh about it, but that's the sort of thing that I would like to see out of him, because he's always been somebody who he hams it up a lot, and it's like, it can be hard to take him seriously sometimes, the way that he acts when he's on TV. Very kind of over the top and, kind of goofy. I want the opposite of that. I want serious, villainous, vicious John Cena, cutting vicious promos, like cutting people down to the bone. If he wants to cut a battle rap, I mean, that's fine, but that's the John Cena that I want to see. I want to see the John Cena who... Now, there's 2 different ways you could go with this. Why would he do this? We haven't even talked about that. What's the rationale for him selling his soul? There's like 2 different ways. Number one, is he just so desperate to win number 17, and he saw the window closing? And he already addressed, like when he came back, remember what he said? Like, guys, in case you haven't noticed, my win-loss record hasn't been great. Like, I really don't think number 17 is going to happen. He's so desperate, he gets blinded by number 17 and the hunt and the chase for that title, that he was willing to do the unthinkable. Like, is it that simple? Or is it a case where he finally is looking back and saying, you know, you guys had 15, 20 years to like appreciate me. And I had to come out here week after week and listen to the boos and listen to Let's Go Cena, Cena sucks. And he takes all of that, because you have to know, like deep down on some level, it had to just bother him. And now he can throw it back in people's faces. That's another way you can go with it.
Well, that's the way I'm going with it. Everything that they've thrown at him, the Let's Go Cena, Cena sucks, all of that, everything that people have complained about in regards to him, I want him to take and throw right back at everybody. He heard it, it bothered him, and now he has an opportunity to throw it back at everybody. That's the Cena I want. Like you said, it's got to be an angry Cena. I don't need comedy. I don't need fucking raps. I want to see a vile. This is the last year that you're going to see him, desperate John Cena, willing to do anything to stay on top, only for that one person, whoever it may be, we'll talk about who I think it's going to be, to take him down and kind of swing John Cena to say, did The Rock use me? Was I manipulated? And then we get that babyface off for the last 4 or 5 months of the year.
Yeah, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me.
Yeah,
I've done everything for you. I've spent my entire career doing everything for you, for the fans, for the kids. This I'm doing for me. I need to be number 17. I need to break that record. I need to be the guy. This is my final year. I need to go out the way that I want to go out. I think that's the attitude that you take with it. And then it just opens up so many possibilities now as far as opponents, because after the promo that Punk cut last night, like I'm all fired up and ready to go for one more CM Punk John Cena match. What about heel John Cena and babyface Randy Orton down the road?
Yeah.
We never got that dynamic, right? That's completely flipped on its head now.
Jackie Redmond asked AJ Styles yesterday what he thought of the John Cena heel turn. Maybe babyface AJ against heel John Cena.
Sure, why not? I mean, it's now or never.
Yeah,
right. There's not going to be another opportunity to do it, and we haven't even mentioned any of the newer talents that he would never have worked with before.
Yeah.
So you also have people like that as well. So it just opens up so many more possibilities than we even had before when we were mapping out all the final dream matches, or the past rivals that can step up again and wrestle Cena one more time. There's just so many more possibilities now with him as a heel. Question I have is, how often is he going to be around? That's my fear. We're talking about at least I want 5 or 6 months of John Cena as a heel. 5 or 6 months of John Cena as a heel doesn't mean he's going to be on television every week for those 6 months.
No, what has he got, 25 dates this year, something like that?
No, it was 30. It was 30-something, and now he's already used a few of them. So he's probably still got about 30-ish dates.
Well, what did you make of the online complaining yesterday? Because a lot of people, I got it because it's just the nature of the beast and what we do. Oh, John Cena didn't show up on Monday Night Raw last night. This happened on AEW. JD would shit all over it. That's what I got last night. Like, guys, Cena is in Africa. Rock told you on Saturday he's not going to be there. Could he have been there via satellite? Sure. They're going to want to advertise it. They're going to want to make a big deal about it. And who's to say that Cena doesn't show up with The Rock during that first promo and we get one huge, big fucking explanation as to why everything happened? Did you find yourself bothered that the fact John Cena or The Rock didn't show up on Monday Night Raw last night following the Elimination Chamber? Because I wasn't.
I didn't, because I wasn't expecting it. When I saw the lineup for Raw, if he was going to be on the show, they would have been promoting the shit out of that.
Yeah.
And the fact that they didn't mention him at all, they didn't mention Rock, they didn't mention Cena, they didn't mention Cody. The only one they mentioned was Seth Rollins. They mentioned CM Punk. What's the fallout going to be from CM Punk getting screwed out of the Elimination Chamber? So I figured, okay, Cody's a SmackDown guy. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore, I guess. But like, he technically is a SmackDown guy. So I was hoping we might get something on SmackDown. But then I realized they announced John Cena for certain episodes of Raw on these European dates. They have a whole bunch of them. They're going to be on this huge European tour this month. And so he was already announced. I don't think we're seeing him until St. Patrick's Day. So it's going to be a little bit before we see him. That's the luxury, though, of having Rock. So if Cena's not going to be around, you could still have Rock on the show.
Yeah.
Right? If Rock is around, I don't think anybody's going to complain if The Rock is on the show, kind of in his place. Do I wish that Cena was going to be on television sooner? Yeah, of course. I don't want to wait 2 weeks to hear from him for the first time. And that's my fear, that we're not going to get to see him enough. We don't need him every week. But are we going to get to see him enough? That's my fear. Did it bother me that he wasn't on the show last night? It didn't, just because I wasn't expecting it. And after that opening segment, I felt like what we got with Punk and Rollins kind of, if you were disappointed, I think that kind of made up for it, because it was just so great. And a potential match with Cena and Rock, down the road at some point. But yeah, I don't know that we're going to see him until the middle of the month. I don't think he's advertised for anything until then.
Yeah, Jack in the chat says his next appearance isn't until Brussels on the 17th of March.
Yeah, that's St. Patrick's Day.
People are still talking about it. It's legitimately everywhere. ESPN, every fucking major news outlets pick this up. People that you don't think would even realize pro wrestling still exists was
Jon
covering
Stewart
this shit.
on his monologue on the Daily Show the other night incorporated the Cena heel turn into it, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, because he turned heel on Cena years ago at SummerSlam.
Yeah. It's still so fresh in everybody's mind. It's like, why do you want to go on to the next thing when everybody's still talking about what you did on Saturday? So let it breathe. By the time we get to John Cena's next appearance, it is going to be time for that next stage of the build. So I don't mind it.
I mean, that first promo. Oh yeah, it's got to hit like crack. And so everybody is just waiting. Like, what are we going to get out of this guy? The first heel Cena promo since the Doctor of Thugonomics days. I mean, so you can milk that shit for a little while, right? I don't want to wait weeks and weeks to get it, but if you wait a week, if you wait until the end of next week or something, that's fine, because they have a bunch of other people. For example, next Monday, I would bet anything that we're going to get the return of Roman Reigns on Monday Night Raw, and he's going to be back on TV. Yes. So as long as they have other people, whether it be Roman or Rock or Punk, to help fill that gap until Cena is available. Look, if he's not available, he's not available. If he's in Africa, then there's nothing they can do. But when we get that first promo, everybody's going to have their eyes on that show, and that's going to be a big moment.
CM Punk was on Monday Night Raw last night, had one of the best pull-apart brawls that WWE's done in recent memory. Probably the best start to a Netflix-era Monday Night Raw. He cut a promo very like CM Punk, and a promo that everybody really loves from CM Punk. Very angry, very intense, very straightforward. He called The Rock a bald fraud and said he's not immune to criticism because of his position on the TKO board of directors. You don't know who you're dealing with. He looks into the camera. He then said, while you, Mr. Midlife Crisis, just decide to walk in whenever you feel like it, he isn't gracing them with their presence. And he mocked the goosebumps on his arm, the mana, and said he doesn't really love the business. I've never been so delusional to wear a fake title and proclaim myself the people's champion. He said he earns his titles. He also called John Cena a bald fraud, and he says he's been selling all these people and all these kids bullshit. Said you'll never see him give up his dreams of headlining WrestleMania, and ironically, he let everybody down. The joke's on you now, Cena. I'm going to see you down the road. I'm going to get my hands on both of you bald frauds, and when I do, you're going to make a wish I never did, is what Punk ended with. Then we got the Rollins brawl, and one thing led to another. And then the steel cage match, which is next week at Madison Square Garden. Punk and Rollins inside a steel cage in the main event of Monday Night Raw. Jason, with Punk's promo, I know you have come up with all these different variables and all these different scenarios for WrestleMania. I guess, first of all, let me ask you, do you think, personally, that they are going to use the night one main event going into night two main event format this year?
I don't. I was thinking of possible like tag team matches they could do. I don't think it works as well as it did last year. Last year fed directly into the main event on night two, and the title match is already set for night two. So to me, if you were going to do a tag match, which I think is something that you suggested, right?
Yeah.
You suggested a tag match. So if the tag match was Rock wrestling and tagging with Cena against, let's say, Cody and Punk, Rock and Cena can't lose. And Rock already pinned Cody in the tag match last year. So you're not going to run that back again. I just don't think it works as well. Like last year, it worked out perfectly. I don't think it works as well this year if you do that. Because what are the stakes? Who goes over, and how do you work it in a way that makes sense? I'm not seeing it. I'm not feeling it. Yeah,
I can see the predictable aspect of it. After And-
but,
yeah,
but again, like depending on what the outcome is going to be in the title match, like let's say Cena, like you and I said, we want to see him win the title.
Yeah.
Again, I don't see how they lose. They can't lose on night one. So do you just have them win and then Cena wins again?
Well, I'm thinking Punk specifically mentioned Rock and Cena here, so I just feel like he's going to be involved in some way, shape, or
No,
form.
but he said down the road. He said,
He did. I mean,
down the road.
7 weeks is down the road. I mean, it can be
7 weeks is down the road, but down the road to me could also mean 6 months. We got
Okay.
2 nights of SummerSlam coming up
Yes.
at MetLife Stadium, and they're going to need some big matches for that show.
Well,
You know, or look, Money in the Bank. I said this too, just for old time's sake.
I know.
Cena and Punk, Money in the Bank, that works too.
It does. It works very well. It's, the Summer of Punk is a memorable one. But as far as Punk and this match with Rollins, steel cage. I mean, it's a finality type of match. Do you see? I know you mentioned Roman. I do think Roman shows up next week as well. If Punk and Rollins are in the steel cage and Roman makes his presence known, are we moving on from Punk and Rollins at WrestleMania, or do we go Rollins Reigns? Do something else with Punk, like I mentioned. Maybe they incorporate night one into night two, or are we genuinely looking at a triple threat match with Punk, Rollins, and Reigns in maybe the main event of night one of WrestleMania? Maybe they go a different way, but that match is a big enough match to do the main event of any show. I just don't personally want to see Punk and Reigns in the ring together, as I don't think that conflict is there for WrestleMania to be enough over the next 6 weeks. Punk and Rollins is certainly there. Rollins and Reigns is certainly there because of the history that they have over 12 years. But all three guys in a triple threat match, I'm not feeling it. How do you feel about that?
I think right now that's the leading candidate as far as the potential match for CM Punk at WrestleMania. Punk and Rollins, their issues are well established. Roman and Rollins makes sense. Roman's going to be coming right after him after what happened at the Royal Rumble. But let's not pretend that there wasn't tension in that sit-down segment going into War Games between Roman and Punk. And then we have the favor that Heyman still owes Punk. Is the favor going to come into play at It doesn't have to, but is it going to come into play at WrestleMania? Are they going to hold off on that? If it does come into play, what could that favor even be? Yeah, I've said before, the only thing that really would make sense as would be if Heyman has some kind of sway with The Rock. It would have to be with The Rock. And it would help get him either a main event match at WrestleMania or inserted into the title match. That doesn't really work, though. Like, especially after what he said about The Rock last night. Why the fuck would Rock allow Punk to be added to the title match at WrestleMania? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, he called him a bald fraud. He threatened him. I'm coming after you. I don't think that... A week ago, I might have thought that's a possibility. Now, I don't think that's a possibility at all. Roman and Punk being in the same match, I don't think it negates how big of a match it would be if they did Punk and Roman separately sometime after that, like in a singles match. You could still do a singles match down the road with Paul Heyman caught in the middle, just like we all thought they might do. Maybe
I'm assuming they will. It's okay.
Yeah. But I don't think if they do a triple threat, it negates that. I actually think in a triple threat, it makes it a hell of a lot more likely that Rollins comes out the winner.
And he's going to need a win, especially if he loses the steel cage match. Yeah.
He's going to need a win, especially after what happened last year. He lost both nights of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And he's been the guy who, honestly, it's almost like he's been a gatekeeper for them. And if anybody is due for a big win, if we're being honest here, talk about a company guy, it's Seth Rollins. But I could see where the heat that develops between Roman and Punk would effectively cost them both that match. Rollins would go over. And now you've established heat between Roman and Punk that leads to an eventual match. So a triple threat still makes the most sense to me, honestly. Would they close the show with it? If it came down to that and the Gunther match with Jey Uso, to me, the main event is Roman, Punk, and Rollins. It's just a bigger match. Yeah, I mean, I know they say that the winner of the Royal Rumble goes to the main event of WrestleMania, but they say that about, you can say that about Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Are they closing WrestleMania?
Not a chance.
No. So it's not a foregone conclusion that Jey Uso, even if he wins, which he has to, I think, is going to close the show. Roman, Punk, and Rollins is a much bigger match.
Punk mentioned Cena and Rock last night in the promo, and clearly he is somewhat of a fortune teller in his side gig somewhere. He says these things, and they just come to fruition sometimes. He said to Cody that I'm not going to be the guy that stabs you in the back. I'm going to stab you in the front. And he did tell Cody that he is his only friend. Now, as far as the main events of WrestleMania, Cena turned his back on Cody. Cena's now the heel, and I do think, and you think, that Cena should walk out as the world champion. Cena should be the world champion leaving WrestleMania. Now, that would leave Rock's guy as the champion. He's got his champion. Cody's looking for that revenge, and that there's going to be a whole nother layer to Cody's character. It's going to have that storyline arc where he's now chasing it again, which I do think the fan base finds him to be a little bit more interesting, chasing the championship instead of being the champion. But as far as Cena winning the championship, let's stay on that topic. Cena winning the championship, and we're booking now, specifically me, I'm booking WrestleMania to SummerSlam. I'm having Punk be the guy to take the championship from a heel Cena at SummerSlam. And I'm having that main event one of the nights, and I'm doing Rock. And I do think, personally, this is just me, I do think Rock got 2 more matches in him if he's not wrestling this year at Mania. I think one's got to be against Cody. There has to be a match with Cody, and there has to be a match with Roman. He's not retiring without neither of these matches taking place. I'm doing Cody and Rock one night, and I'm doing Cena and Punk on the other night at SummerSlam. What do you think of the storyline? What do you think of the road to SummerSlam here if Cena does win the championship?
I think the road to SummerSlam is one of 2 things as far as if he loses the belt there, it's either Cody or Punk. I think it's more likely that Cody would win the belt back from him. It could be Punk. You mentioned the other night being Rock and Cody. Is Rock going to wrestle at SummerSlam? We don't even know that.
Mm.